Okay, for the opening exercise, I drew an example diagram that I need students to copy. So for this one, we're thinking about four friends who are touring on motorcycles. I don't know why it has to be four friends. And they come to an intersection. So the roads are going to make a plus sign. And that is kind of a neat little visual for what we're doing with graphing. So what I need you to do right now is pause this and go over to the image that I emailed, the picture of what that diagram would look like, and draw a diagram either here or on a separate piece of paper so that we can move on. Okay, so for the first question, it says, what is the distance between Albertsville and Dewey Falls? And Albertsville lies on is at -8, or it's 8 miles that way to the left. And Dewey Falls was 6 miles this way. So it would be at a +6. So these are at different sides of the zero. They're on opposite sides of the zero. So we need to know how far is it from the -8 to 0. So we need the absolute value of the -8. I'm going to put a little and symbol, bonk. And we need to know the distance from 0 to the 6. So we need the absolute value of the 6. So then for this one, we would combine those units. We need to know that it is 8 units, or miles in this case, to 0, and then an additional 6 units from 0 to 6, which is Dewey Falls. So the distance between the two of them should be 14. And don't forget to put your unit, what we're counting miles. So 14 miles. I'm going to shorten it because there we go, 14 miles. So next, we need to think about the distance between Blossville and Cheyenne. Now, for these two, they're both above the 0. They're both in the positive. They were both 3 and 12 miles up or north or whatever it would be. So we don't need to count miles 1 and 2 and 3 because we're already kind of stopped there. We're kind of at the 3. So we need to know, okay, all the way to 12, how far is it if we've already gone those 3? So in this case, we need the difference. We're going to subtract out the 3 miles that we've already traveled to see how far is it to 12. And the distance between Blossville and Cheyenne is going to be 9, and don't forget your unit, 9 miles. Okay, so on the coordinate plane, where the two roads intersect, that's where it makes that plus. This place here, we have a special term for that we learned in class last week, and that is the origin. So what represents the intersection of the two roads? The origin represents the intersection. So it's kind of saying like, what is the same as the intersection? The intersection is the origin. Okay, for example 2, we've got the points -4, 0, and 5, 0. And I can see that this one is to the left of 0, and this one is to the right of 0. This is our x, y, x, y. And I noticed that the y's both have 0. So what do they have in common? They both have in common that the y coordinate is 0 for both of them. So what does that mean about where they are in the coordinate plane? They're both going to be some number of units across and 0 units climbing or up, because we say the x goes across and the y climbs. So they're not going to be up or down at all. They're going to be somewhere on the x axis. So they're going to be somewhere on the straight line going this way, which really translates well to what we know about number lines. So how do we find the distance between the two numbers? So for this one, let's see. One of them, so 5 is somewhere over here, and -4 is somewhere over here. Let's just say, and we're just thinking about this like a number line. How many jumps or units is it from -4 to 0, and then again from 0 to the 5? So for here, we're going to use an addition sentence where we would find the absolute value of -4, and we would combine that. Here's my and. That's an and. And we would combine that with the absolute value of 5 to find what the distance is between the two of them. So that would be 4 plus 5. And we would say that the distance is 9 units. Okay. I'm going to put U for units. So use the same method to find the distance between -4. Oh, I'm sorry. It's asking us to do this addition down here. So we would first draw the number line and mark out all the points. And then we could use the same method. I don't know why it says use the same method. Okay. Okay, for this one, we need to find, this one is talking about a line segment. So a line segment is a piece of a line that has some start point and some end point. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to make my little line bigger. Hold on. Let's see if that did it. So we have the ordered pairs 0, -6 and 0, -11. And what do they have in common? Well, they both have a 0 in the space for the x coordinate, and they have a negative number for the coordinate for the y, which means that if this is our origin 0, then they're both going to be on this side of 0. They're both going to be to the left of 0. So in the coordinate plane, they're both going to be to the left of 0. So this time, to find the distance, we know we've already traveled 6 units back away from 0, so we don't need to count those -6. So, so for this time, the length of the line segment is going to have an end point of -11 and another end point. The segment would end at -6. So you could either count the number of jumps from -11 to -6, or we can use our absolute value again and say, okay, well, we need to know how far it is to the absolute value of 11, which is 11. When you're starting at the absolute value of -6, did I say absolute value of 11? Absolute value of -11. And the absolute value of -6 is 6. So we need to know what is the distance between those. What is the difference between those? So we would, in this case, subtract 11 minus 6 to give us a distance, or I'm sorry, the line segment has a length. We're counting the length. So the length of that segment is going to be 5, and we don't know what the 5 is, so 5 units. I'm going to put just a U, but we know it's 5 units.